Welcome to another episode of the Journey Up podcast. I'm your host, Tyrus Duncan, and today we have a very special guest. Her name is Nashan Clay. This is actually my first time meeting her, which is a first for the Journey Up podcast. Everybody I've interviewed thus far, I've known or at least had some type of relationship beforehand. But let's go over the overview before we hop into this conversation. So the Journey Up podcast is a storytelling podcast that dives deep into the personal journeys through life's darkest hours and the resilience it takes to rise again. Each episode features a guest who shares a raw, unfiltered account of one of the lowest points in their life and the trials and tribulations they face. Listeners will hear about the challenges, breakthroughs, and the strength it took to overcome adversity. Nashan,
Thanks for having me.
how are you today?
I am grateful and blessed to be here. See another year, 2025.
Absolutely.
How about
This is the
yourself?
first day of the year.
Yeah.
I always like New Year's because they give the feeling of freshness.
I agree.
And it's like, man, last year was a long year. I've reached a lot of low moments. I experienced some highs, but the majority of it felt very low. And this morning, I just got up and I prayed. And my prayer was, God, restore the joy in my life. And I feel like a lot of people were experienced a point of low and chaos last year. And this year, moving forward, we're praying for joy and peace.
That's the same prayer. That's something. 2024 has actually probably been like the start of one of my best years. And from the end now, or the end of 2024, I have learned pieces. It feels very good.
Yeah.
Peace, yeah.
I like peace too.
Yeah.
So we
Yeah.
have this tradition on the show where I have this card game called We're Not Really Strangers.
Right?
Guess we are technically kind of strangers.
Yeah.
So this will actually be pretty cool. But, okay, not that. I'm going to have these people sponsor me one day. I don't like that question. I'm sorry, I didn't mean that to say that right after I said I'm going to have them sponsor me one day. What's been the best compliment a stranger has ever given you?
The best compliment?
Yeah. Or it doesn't have to be a stranger. Let's just say, what's been the best compliment that you've ever received?
Just like people trying to give me my flowers on the work that I'm doing. I haven't even really been doing it I've been doing it since 2019, more so 2020, working with the youth and trying to change. Mm-hmm. And they just see such a great impact already, and they just be trying to give me my flowers. So that's probably the best.
That's beautiful.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think, what's the best one that I've experienced? Trying to think. One of my associates at work a couple of weeks ago told me, she said, everybody knows that you're a good person, even heaven. And I'm like, man.
That was deep.
It was. Yeah. She's like, even heaven knows that you're a good person. And that really hit me because sometimes, going through the highs and lows of life, we start to question if we are a good person or if we're worthy of anything. And for her to say that, she's like, everybody knows you're a good person, even heaven. That actually touched me.
That was deep.
Another one, someone told me, your presence brings me peace, which that's extremely thoughtful too. Yeah. I don't know. I've received some powerful compliments throughout the years.
Yeah, that was some good ones. It says a lot about your character and how you make people feel.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Do compliments make you uncomfortable?
I think I'm now getting used to it, but at first it probably did, yeah.
Yeah. I always feel uncomfortable when people are talking about me.
Yeah.
In a negative and in a positive way. Because it's like, why are you thinking about me? But then again, it's all love. It's all good.
Yeah. Positive ones make me uncomfortable because I'm just so used to negativity.
Yeah.
But when people speak positive stuff about me, it makes me like, I don't know, it makes me feel weird. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, I agree with that.
So tell me a little bit about yourself. This is our first experience meeting each other. Tell me who Nashan Clay is.
Well, of course, I'm from 42nd and Post Road. So I love saying that because when people bring up Post Road, they always think negative or they see a certain image. Mm-hmm. And when you see me, you don't see that image or, what people expect. I grew up poverty, messed up in household, no dad. Mom was around, but I was raised by my grandma. I I had a great experience with my grandma. She did struggle with drinking alcohol a lot, but just growing up, I always been a quiet person, the loner. I always been true to myself. How I grew up was kind of rough. It was violence, gang activity, all that stuff. But I always chose to stay to myself or stay true to myself and what I wanted to do. So growing up, it was tough because a lot of people called me weird because I wasn't able to fit in. I always stood out in my community, and that's kind of like challenging when you're a person who likes to read, you're quiet, and you in an environment where everybody want to be in the streets or loud, they fighting. I wasn't fighting. I didn't like to fight. So just who I am. I'm just a person that's just trying to impact the world, and I feel like I'm very misunderstood for real.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
What was it like growing up on that side of town? And for the people who are not from Indianapolis, Indiana, could you kind of explain how 42nd and Post is looked at over here in Indiana?
42nd and Post Road, honestly, it was a wild environment. It's just drugs, violence, murders. It's the way we carry ourselves. So I'm sure I understand how people viewed us at one point. It was very rough. It was very hard. When I was growing up, for others to put themselves in my shoes, I wasn't really praised for doing good. Like when I used to get in trouble and stuff, I used to think people would be proud of me just because being bad was praised over being good. When you grew up in an environment like that, you're not really praised with getting good grades or going off to college or, just doing great things or even want to read and pull up your pants. Like, stuff like that will get you looked at and laughed at when you're growing up in an environment like that.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
See, I grew up on the west side. Completely
Similar.
different experience.
It's different?
Yeah, I grew up on the far west, Avon, Brownsburg.
Okay.
Until I moved closer to the west side. I went to a high school at Ben Davis. But what we were told just as a kid is like, nah, we're not going over there.
For real?
Like, it's dangerous over there.
Yeah, I kind of agree. Whoever told you that, they know what's they knew like it was a great advice. Because it wasn't really, how can I put it? It made me who I am today. It watered me. It was my water. But like the environment wise, they probably was telling you the truth.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah.
So you said you were raised mainly by your grandmother.
Yeah, my
Can you
grandma.
speak a little bit about the effect that she's played on your life?
My grandma, she allowed me to be me. She babied me. She had a lot of grandkids, but like I was her favorite. Even though it shouldn't have been favorites, but I was her favorite. I was always with her since a kid. I mean, like infant wise and all that. My mom was 15 when she had me, so my grandma took me. My grandma she was just letting me be who I am. She bought me a game system. I always had my own room. She always was there. So yeah.
Being raised, or how is your relationship with your mother, considering she was fairly young when she had you at the age of 15?
Our relationship has been rocky. I feel like the only time I really like experienced her true like mother nature was when I was in the fourth grade, and every year she'd tell me at the end if I passed or flunked. But after that, we always had a rocky relationship for real. I never really experienced a mother type of relationship. So yeah.
How does that feel?
It can be painful when like you go through stuff with a person that birthed you, but as I'm getting older, that's something I'm asking God for is peace to let it go, because I feel like that is something that I feel like God is pushing me to step away from right now, or altogether. So it can be very painful, because it's still somebody who birthed you.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah.
And your father, you have no relationship with him at all?
My dad, I feel like a lot of people in my position would grow up and hate their dad. He never been around. It was his choice, He was on child support, of course, but, as a kid, I never really wanted him to be on child support. I just wanted him to be a dad. I just wanted to know what it felt like to have a father in my life. But overall, I feel like my dad is a cool dude. We have like a similar personality. His nickname, I ain't gonna say his nickname, but he smiles a lot.
Mm-hmm.
So I feel like a part of us is similar, but it's just him. He just gotta grow and mature. Yeah.
That's a good position to have on parents. One thing I've thought about with my parents, and I have great parents.
It's a blessing.
It's definitely a blessing. I wouldn't be who I am today without the blessings of my mother and father. But I always think to the fact that they're being parents for the first time,
Yeah,
and they deserve grace too.
I agree.
And I think we are often too hard on them, rightfully so, also, because it's like, you're my parent, you're supposed to have this figured out. But at the same time, all humans have traumas that they have not faced. And the traumas that people have experienced messes with who they are today.
Yeah,
And if you're not taught how to properly deal with your trauma, it's going to be a hard time being an efficient living being, because you haven't learned how to deal with all that you've been through.
I wouldn't. So like with my situation, I have always been like the kid inside of my family who always would try to mend relationships, try to make them better, or just grow. And in my situation, it's more so that the people that I'm trying to meet halfway, they have to meet me halfway. I've been doing this. I'm 29 now. I've been doing this since I was in high school, trying to fix relationships. And at this point, I feel like, at this point, I have been getting like the same results, and I can't allow trauma to be an excuse for behaviors that people constantly put on me. So I have to think about myself and set a boundary for my peace. Yeah.
Why do you feel like it's important to mend relationships?
It's important. Why it's important?
Mm-hmm.
Well, I value relationships. I value family structures. I value the word family. So, I never been a kid to just want to just get up and just, I was the scapegoat. I was the black sheep. So a part of me, I'm just a loner. So I do like to separate myself and move far away, or sometimes you won't see me a lot, but I just value the foundation of family.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Family is very important. Very important.
Yeah, that's one thing. But one thing I learned on my journey is sometimes your family it's not always biological.
Yeah.
So that's something I'm learning on my journey.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Speaking of the journey, take me to the lowest moment that you've ever experienced, and let's talk about how you were able to make it out.
The lowest moment I ever experienced was probably coming up with just the relationship with my mom. It kind of made me like feel like worthless in a way. Yeah, like depressed. I was suicidal, all this stuff, just because of what I was going through with her. And I don't know. I feel like God was there. All this, everything in my life that I've been through, I feel like it was a reason for me to go through that. And I feel like it wasn't for myself. It was for like what I'm doing now, the mission. I come across like a lot of kids who have similar stories as me. And now that I went through what I went through, I can help them get through what they're going through. I have a kid. I'm not gonna say his name, but his mom is not in his life. His mom is on drugs, and I could tell as a kid that when he was like second grade that he was angry, he was upset, he had a lot of behavior issues. And I just always told him, like, I know you upset with your mom, but now he a little bit older. He'll say things like he only love his dad, he don't love his mom, but I know he's just hurt. And I always say, like, you love your mama too. So it was my lowest point, but it helped me gain something to really help the kids that I really fight for. So yeah.
What did it feel like when you were depressed and suicidal? What did that take me to one of those lowest days, and what did that feel like?
I feel like it wasn't no way out. Like nothing was going to change. It was like a trap. Like you was trapped. Everything is the same. It's like truly, really, it was no way out. But it really is a way out. It's just a chapter in your life. It's just hard. You want to get through it, but it's a way out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It definitely feels like it.
Yeah.
It's like, man, there is no way out. This is the end.
Yeah. It's a way out to everybody that's watching that's suicidal. It's definitely a way out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In those moments, it is kind of like you're just in a dark space, in a dark tunnel. And you could say it's sadness, kind of, but it feels kind of different than sadness.
Yeah, it's not sadness. I don't know what it is, but it just makes you feel, well, it made me feel like very like unloved and unwanted, because I didn't really grow up in a family like unit that was built off unconditional love. Since elementary school, I always faced some form of like mistreatment from my family. So growing up, I was always just by myself. So it just made me feel like, all right, I'm not wanted. So that played a role in that feeling.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't think nobody likes to feel alone.
I don't feel alone now. I don't feel alone now. I'm good.
What's changed?
God made me stronger on my journey. He just made me more aware of why on my journey is, and I passed that chapter in my life. So
Yeah.
yeah,
It's one thing I try to remind myself constantly. If you look at life like a book, in the book there are different chapters,
yeah,
and not all chapters are high, and not all chapters are low.
yeah.
But you cannot neglect each page.
I
If you
agree.
take a page out of a chapter, it changes the whole story. And if you want the
That's
story
true.
to feel complete and you want the story to be beautiful, you need every page. One thing I always say is like, don't neglect page 27 in a 300-page book. So I could take one of these books that I got laying around over here and just rip out a page and it changes the whole story.
I agree.
And we'll be in these moments to where it's like, man, this is horrible. I'm tired. I don't want to experience this anymore. But when I get to those moments, I have to remind myself, I'm like, Tyrus, don't neglect page 27.
Yeah, it's gonna help you.
This is adding to the story. And even when you think about your favorite movies or whatever, what's your favorite movie?
Don't be a menace.
Don't Be a Menace.
Yeah.
Dude, that movie's full of a lot of lows. But you think about the plot of a movie. It starts, it has a story, then it transcends, it has the highs,
Yeah.
and then it has a climax, and then it kind of drops. And sometimes it has it continuous throughout the whole movie. Like, Don't Be a Menace, they got a lot of that. But our lives are very similar. We'll have a lot of highs and we'll have a lot of lows,
Yeah, I agree.
but keep writing the story. Because if you keep writing the story, I guarantee a high is going to come eventually.
Yeah.
And that's one thing that's been keeping me going too. It's like life gets very hard sometimes.
Yeah, I agree. It does.
And what I tell myself when life gets hard is that it will get better eventually, as long as you keep going.
That's true.
'Cause the worst thing you can do when you feel like you are in a dark tunnel or you're in a storm is to stop moving. And if you don't make any forward progress and you stay where you are, it's like if you ask yourself a question, oh, I hate where I'm at, why would you stop there instead of keep going? If you hate where you're at, the best thing you could do
Yeah.
is keep going, and prayerfully you make it out.
I agree with that. It's definitely everything is part of your journey. It helps you. Like when I look back at all of the hard, like my whole life was really hard. I feel like this is the first time where my life is becoming easy, and when I look back, I finally realized like all that really helped me become who I am today.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was hard, but I'm reaping the awards, like the fruits from it. So
Yeah.
it's worth it.
What would you say is the most important thing that you've learned throughout the journey?
The most important thing I have learned.
Mm-hmm.
That's a good question. The most important thing I have learned throughout this journey is, I don't know, so many. One thing I have learned is never judge a book by its cover, because you never know who a person is going to become. I was the one that was low in status just because where I came from. I was still living on Post Road and I was going to Lawrence Township. That was a different environment. Those kids had more money. They had both parents, bigger houses, and a lot of people didn't really expect for somebody like me coming from where I came from to be somebody.
Mm-hmm.
And I just want like people to understand like you have to treat everybody the same because you never know who God is gonna,
Yeah.
So that's one of the important or the biggest lessons that I have learned on my journey. Because who I am today, nobody really didn't expect it.
Yeah. Talk about a little bit who are you today? Like when people see you, what do you think they see?
I think they're finally starting to see me for me and not the image that was created over my neighborhood. But I'm a kind person, I'm open, I read books, I go to the library, I care about my animal that I have. I have a lot of sympathy. A lot of people don't think that I have sympathy or I cry because of where I come from.
Mm-hmm.
Like I do cry, so it's like I'm a really open person. I'm very sensitive, I'm a deep person. And, I'm not really into what I grew up around. I'm not really into selling drugs or gang banging. I was a product of my environment. That's all I knew. But once I understood it, I could be more. Understood it wasn't my identity. So I feel like it's just really who I am. They just got to get to know who I am.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Growing up in that environment, did you lose a lot of people?
Yeah, I did. A lot. Oh, probably over 30 altogether. Probably way more than that if I put it all together. But, yeah. From gun violence to ODing to the jail system, yeah, I lost a lot.
Mm.
Yeah.
Loss is strange.
Yeah.
Very strange. It's hard to explain, really. I've lost a lot of close people, and I don't know. I don't know how to explain it.
Like, how does it make you feel? Like, why is it like strange to you? Why is the word lost strange to you?
It's like you ever lost your phone or something, and you've been looking for it,
Okay.
but you never find it. That's what it feels like. It's like something that was of value to you, and you misplaced it, and you hope to find it again, but it's gone. That feeling of looking for it and the feeling of it not being there doesn't go away.
Yeah. I think like the people that I lost were just my childhood friends that I grew up with. I value that. You know, a lot of people say I understand like when you get older, those people are just chapters in your life. But I kind of value it a lot deeper because I spent my childhood was like a special part of my life. It was mostly my whole life. You get what I'm saying? So I value the ones that I lost to gun violence, OD'd, or the jail system. So when I bring them up and say, yeah, I lost them, these was my friends, it was like more so my family, like my brothers. So I always will value them, since.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Like I said, if people who haven't experienced loss, it's hard to kind of understand. I remember my grandma died, my dad's mom, and I was over his house, went to his house that day. He's like, feels like somebody pushed me out of a plane with no parachute, and I haven't hit the ground yet.
Yeah, that's how I felt with my grandma. I didn't even knew like she died when I was 15. When they said that they had to put a plug, I didn't even like think like she
Understand what
could
that
die.
mean.
Yeah, I was like, what? She could die? So yeah.
Yeah, I remember my grandma. Both of my grandmas are very special to me. My other grandma, my great grandma, that was like my favorite person on earth.
Yeah.
She died back in 2020, June 28th, 2020. I remember it like it was yesterday. And we knew that she was going to die soon because, of course, you get old. She was 90 years old. She lived a blessed life.
Yeah, she did.
And we were very close up until, COVID happened in 2020. And, of course, that put like a halt on family gatherings. We weren't able to come together. I would see her every Sunday after church. Like I would go to church, then I would go to my grandma's house and sit with her. And we really bonded, especially over the later years of my adult life. And I always say she was like the epitome of love. It's like you come around her and you feel love. So it's like when she died, a whole lot inside of me changed.
Yeah.
And I don't know if I've ever fully recovered from that. Sometimes I'm like, man, I just want a hug from my grandma. And when you can't get that, it's not a good feeling. It's not a good feeling at all. And I remember our last conversation, we were sitting, she was in her bed and I was sitting there and we were watching Wheel of Fortune like we were doing when I was a child.
Yeah.
And she looked at me and just started crying and she's like, you and me gonna always be close. And I still feel her presence sometimes. Like every time I go to her church, my mom goes to her church, the church that my grandma was in. Every time I go there, I just feel like her presence there. And I can't help but to cry. So I'm like, man, she's not here anymore. And that sucks.
It seemed like you had the great blessing to really like experience unconditional love from your family. That's a blessing. A lot of people don't get that.
Absolutely. It's a blessing. I always talk about how grateful I am just for my family. And my parents are, like I said, my parents are amazing. They're divorced, but my step parents are also pretty amazing. And that's also like something that I don't take lightly. I don't take for granted. Of course, it feels different.
Yeah, of course, yeah.
Like, it's like, dang, y'all not together. And I'm like, if I want to see both of y'all, I got to go to two separate places. And of course, that has its own effect that it plays on me. But at the same time, I'm still grateful that they're both alive and they're healthy and that their spouses are nice and good people. Shout out to step parents because they pick up a big part, and they play a big part in a lot of people's lives. I'm eternally grateful for all of my family, for sure.
That's a blessing to have.
Absolutely.
Cherish that.
Absolutely. So talk a little bit about the work that you're doing right now within your community and why you feel like it's important to you.
The work that I'm doing right now is I work with the youth, more so kids who are troubled, but so far I've been working with all kids who got autism, who suffer from it. But I feel like my heart is really connected to just the youth in general, especially the ones who are misunderstood, who come from the same environments as me, which most of them are in public school systems. Mm-hmm. So I feel like that's important to me. It's a passion. It's something that God put in my heart. 2019, 2020, I got baptized. And after that, I just got a stronger passion to want to like change the ghettos and help those kids be more than what we always see them going to jail or dying to the gun or dropping out or becoming addicts. I just want the world to really understand who they are and just push another lane open for the kids who come from where I come from. Mm-hmm. But altogether, I feel like I don't really have the bigger picture yet. God is still adding. He gives me a little bit at a time.
How much does God play into your life?
The whole thing. The whole thing. Like, right now, everything that's happening in my life is just Him. Like, the Instagram taking off, that was Him. Like, these doors opening, Him, doors closing, it's all Him. I just want to walk in His will and not my own. So, yeah, He's playing a major role.
You say you got baptized in 2019.
2020.
2020. Mm-hmm. How's your relationship with God grown since then?
So much, for real. When I first got baptized, before I was living with my aunt, sharing a bedroom with my 16-year-old cousin. I didn't even know I could get an apartment. Like, because how I grew up, I didn't grow up with an environment where they tell you, all right, credit is important, or you can do this, you can do that. Almost everybody around me kind of like are struggling in some sense. So I never believed that I could do it until I got baptized and people in the church like, you can do it. And then I did it. And after, like, as time passed, He has allowed me to go through the valley. But it has taught me so many things about myself, and it has helped me grow and learn how to trust Him. One thing I have learned that I'm overcoming is I stopped doubting and is praying about it. Mm. So, yeah, it's been a crazy journey. Mm. Yeah.
It makes me think. I went to church last night for watch night service, and what the pastor preached about was in Acts 27. Paul was on his way to go talk to Caesar, and the ship, there was a storm on the water, and the ship was, they thought it was about to be over. They was like, man, Paul got us out here on this water. We about to die. It's a wrap. It's over. Paul, why would you make us leave at this time? We shouldn't have did that. So they started throwing stuff off of the boat, trying to, just conserve the ship. An angel from the Lord appeared and said, you're not going to die. You will survive because you have to get here. And it made me think of all of the hard times and the trials that we go through. Yeah. We're not going to die if we believe in the calling that has been placed on our life and we believe in the destiny that God has set before us. It's like, although the storm may seem tough right now, yeah, although we may feel as if this ship is about to sink, the angel of the Lord does appear and say, you're not going to die. You shall fulfill the destiny that has been placed upon your life. And I think when we accept the calling, which is a hard thing to do, right? Because also one of my favorite stories in the Bible is the story of Jonah. And I speak about him often on the podcast.
That's the funniest story ever.
What, Jonah?
Yeah. When I be reading that story, that's so funny. Yeah.
I think about it all the time because understanding the call on your life is one thing. Accepting the call in your life is another thing. Choosing to actively run away from the call that you know that you are supposed to be doing, that does nothing but send you into the belly of the well. And on an earthly level, I think of the belly of the well being a spirit of depression. Because for me, that's a good way to explain what depression feels like. As someone who has battled it back and forth for the past couple of years, it's like, what does it feel like? Imagine Jonah being in the belly of the well. That's what it feels like. Yeah. It's dark. It's cold. Nobody's there. It's just you. And maybe you see a light from the little peephole of the well or whatever, but it's dark. And it's like understanding what the calling is and running away from it will only lead you to that. But the way that God works, although Jonah was in the belly of the well was still pushing him towards his purpose, his mission to Nineveh, to deliver the message, the mission that he gave to him. So I'm like, although I may be in the belly of the well, I will not lose hope. And to bring it back to what I was talking about from the scriptures of last night, Acts 27, and I'm not going to die. I will survive. And although I feel like, life get tough.
Yeah, it does.
Very tough. But I'm not going to die. And that's one thing I've never lost through my bouts with depression and through life seeming like it's over. I've never lost the hope. And that's my biggest message that I would want to give to people constantly is don't you dare lose hope.
I agree.
Because hope is tomorrow. Hope is the next step. Hope is peace and comfort in the future. Hope is understanding that although things may be terrible right now, maybe tomorrow will be better. So don't you dare lose hope.
I agree with that.
I be needing this sometimes. I be needing this a lot, actually. A whole lot. So what do you do to maintain and strengthen your relationship with God?
I try to stay in prayer, honestly, build that relationship. I'm learning how to be okay or learning that it's okay to share anything with God. Whatever it is, you can share, So
Yeah.
that relationship is very important.
Yeah. And I think a lot of us overcomplicate prayer, but prayer is simply just having a conversation with God.
Yeah, and just talk. No matter what, I'll just be saying all types of off the wall stuff.
Yeah. I do too. I was praying one time, so I was like, why are you praying like that? I said, I'm talking to God like I talk to you. Leave me alone. He know me. He know my heart.
Yeah, I feel like, I think one of the, my biggest battles in my spiritual journey has been the church. And I just feel like if God didn't really give me the strength or the faith that he has blessed me with, I probably would have walked away just because of the church. But I feel like, speaking on that, I feel like a lot of people, or my experience, don't understand that everybody's relationship with God is different. And he might show you different things, or he might show them different things. So, yeah.
Yeah. I want to say I have a beef with the church, but I got beef with the church too.
Yeah.
Only because I think that we've forgotten the mission. The mission is, one, to spread the gospel, spread the good news, spread the idea that Jesus has died for our salvation. And through his death, we have the gateway of salvation. The church is so, I don't even know how to put it. It's exhausting for one.
Yeah. The church has a lot of, from my experience inside of the church, I don't know, I want to relate my stories more so to Joseph. Throughout life, I've always been mistreated, and to the point where it has caused me to always react, but I don't really react anymore. I've grown, so I always go through the same situations over and over again. Inside of the church, I have experienced mistreatment. More so, people telling me to change my hair, change the way I dress. Someone even told me that my family, the reason why I dress like this, because my family didn't dress me up as a kid like a girl, but they did, So I always face mistreatment inside of the church, and I feel like the people inside of the church need to understand that they're not God. They're just humans just like us, just like me and you. And I do believe, a lot of times people put themselves on a pedestal or hide behind certain images, and it causes the church not to grow, and it constantly pushes people away from even wanting to learn about God.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which the great thing about the church is God gave us his word as a substance and as a foundation. So it's like when we take ourselves out of the truth of what his word says, then it's like, well, this is the word. This is your opinions. Your opinions have nothing to do with the word. And finding comfort in his word is better than finding comfort in the word of people.
Yeah.
Because people can change their minds. But the Bible said that his word will never change.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah. Just when you go to church, just more so, just focus on your relationship with God. Don't put your faith in people.
Oh, yeah. 'Cause people do you wrong.
Yeah.
They're going to steer you wrong time and time again.
Yeah.
That's a good encouragement there. I want to get into a little bit of I've watched a couple of your hood vlogs, and tell me what made you want to go to the hood
To do 'em?
yeah.
I started in 2020 when I got baptized, and God put a passion in my heart, and all I knew was just the mind about the ghettos, and just over time I just got inspired by this man named Charlie Bow 313, and he's from Detroit. You know him?
No, I just heard 313.
He goes to different hoods in America and he films. So I just said, you know what, I'm about to copy him, and I started doing the same thing. Started with my own neighborhood, more so because I had something to say about the ghettos. You know, I wanted people to hear me. I had a voice, and I just started doing it. I stopped. Then earlier in 2024, I started up again, and it took off. But it's more so to really show a more positive side of the ghettos, you know, because hood vlogs on YouTube, all you see is in the ghettos, people praising that their neighborhood is the murder capital, or it has the highest murder rate, or, you know,
Which is nothing to praise.
Yeah, so I decided, you know, I want to show a different side of the ghettos. So, yeah.
And just show the people.
So,
One thing I respect the fact that you go and you get the stories from the people who are raised and actually in the surroundings of the area. Because I think too often some people just have stories in passing from people who said that they experienced the location.
Yeah.
But to actually go to the location and actually be there with the people, that gets you like, it almost makes people feel included as if they're actually there. And the way that you shoot it too, it's like on a GoPro. It actually feels like you're in the environment with them, which is pretty cool.
Appreciate that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just try to show a different side. Some people do try to praise, like, we was a big family. We had we was deep into the drug game, but I always try to stir them, like, no, that's not what my video is about. So,
What's been your most impactful experience while capturing a hood vlog?
What you mean?
Like, what experience continues to lay on your mind as, wow, that was special, or that was intimidating?
I don't think I have came across one yet. So probably waiting on that moment, but I haven't came across it yet.
Which one has been your favorite?
My favorite vlog? I don't think I came across that one yet either. You know? So.
You doing it for love.
Yeah.
You just hit 30,000 followers on Instagram. How does that feel?
Good. I ain't never thought it would be me in this position. So it's a blessing. I'm grateful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It feels like you came a long way, huh?
A very long way. I didn't know it could be me sitting in 30,000, you know. Yeah. I be in the library and people recognize me. I never thought that could be me.
How does it feel when someone just comes up to you and I'm sure they're like, hey, you're the person from so-and-so?
It makes me learn and understand that when I was a kid and living on Post Road, you know, I always believed that it was more outside of my community. I just never knew what it was. And, I stayed true to myself. I didn't sell drugs. It just showed me that as a kid, when you stay true to yourself and you believe that you can be more and overcome, it happens. It might take time, but it definitely is showing for itself.
Is that now the main message that you give to the children that you work with?
It really depends on their stories, but my main message is for them to overcome. And I try to use, I don't try to push Jesus on them, but but that's a part of my story. So when they hear my story, they know Jesus was the one who helped me get where I'm at today. So that's my main mission, is to glorify God, because at the end, all this is going to pass away. The goal is to help them become saved. So, yeah.
Do you find that challenging?
For the kids? No, not at all. One of the kid that I was talking about, whose mom is on drugs, he has a very troubled life. Very, very troubled for any type of kid. Even inside the school systems, I used to hear teachers always say he gonna be a dropout, just like his dad. He ain't gonna be nothing. He gonna be a school shooter. Yeah. And you know, I understand he had a tough life. You know, being so young, he can't control that. You know. So one time he was sitting in my room and he was just having a rough day. I sat by the door because he liked to run out. He just randomly would start talking about God and saying how God loves him. God made, you know, he said, God made me. I still got that video. And he just randomly said, like, I love you, Miss Clay. And I said, it made me uncomfortable because I ain't used to affection, just like he ain't used to affection. So I was like, I love you too. And so it's making an impact.
Yeah. How did that moment feel for you?
It was very shocking, you know, because you never know how God is going to, like, show up for real. And it shows his power. Like, this kid just randomly just started talking about God. So, yeah, shows I'm on the right pathway.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love children. They be a lot to deal with.
Man, tell me about it. I get hit. I was getting hit with hand sanitizer bottles. And my mama got called a hillbilly by a kid. I got called a bald-head scallywag. Everything. They crazy.
How do you find the grace to give to the children? Because I think we often forget that children have not been here that long, and most of the time they're just acting out what they've seen, and they're only speaking out what they've heard. So I think as adults, we often forget that. And it's like, boy, you know better. You shouldn't be doing this. It's like maybe the child actually doesn't know better. So how do you find the grace to try to steer them into the right direction?
The story that God gave me. I was dumb at one point, you know, being misunderstood, having behavior issues. So it's just because of the story God gave me. And it's the passion and the gifts that he gave me to be able to connect with them.
Mm-hmm. So seeing yourself in them.
Yeah. Seeing how everybody gives up on them. You know, everybody gave up on me, didn't believe I was going to make it. So it's like, okay, I made it. Now, especially with the kid that I'm talking about, a lot of people believe he's not going to make it. So now I have a chip on my shoulder, and I'm going to make sure that he does make it. So when he do graduate high school, I'm going to post it, and I'm going to rub it in their face. So it's like, yeah, that's really what I look forward to, is really seeing the kids that people don't believe won't make it actually make it. And I'm there to, like, you know, prove them wrong.
Yeah. What do you believe makes you who you are?
My neighborhood, 42nd and Post Road, that's what really made me who I am. Because when you look at my story, that's all you see. My story just really starting. And before that, it just been Post Road, everything. So, yeah, shout out to Post Road.
Shout out to Post Road. How do you feel about the negative image that people give Post Road?
Half of it is true. So I got to be honest. It starts with accountability. You know, I'm not going to sit here and be like, oh, they ain't us. No, it was.
Yeah, that's definitely. Yeah, I'll be wild.
Yeah. Yeah. So I just don't like when, I didn't really like it so more like when people looked at Post Road, they didn't really give me a chance. They just said, okay, she in that image too.
So basically just how people categorize and leave people in.
Yeah, they didn't give me a chance.
Yeah.
Like when I played basketball in Lawrence North, I had a very rough experience just because I was from Post Road. Not from like the principal or anything. It was more so the basketball players and the head coach. And it was because of where I came from. Like they never really gave me an opportunity to get to know who I am outside of my neighborhood. So I faced a lot of shut doors because of where I came from.
That is very unfortunate. I can't imagine how many people go through experiences like that to where people look at them as a certain image only because where they come from, or not even just where they come from, but how they look, how they dress, how they talk, how they act. A lot of that connectively affects how somebody is, and a lot of times that could turn somebody into, you know, the wrong side. They're like, well, this is how you see me as anyways, so this is what you're gonna get, and that's very unfortunate. Very unfortunate. Nashan Clay, where do you see yourself in 10 years?
You know, I get the same question every podcast. It's a great question. 10 years, they ask 5, but 10.
10. You'll be 39, close to 40. Where do you see yourself then?
I'm going to be very established. My name, they're like all around the world. They'll know what I stand for, my mission. I'm going to be connected to a lot of great things for the youth. play a major role in the education system. It's gonna be a great, amazing sight to see, I could say.
If you had to give an elevator pitch for what your mission is, what is it?
To show the youth from the ghettos that they can be more than what they see. So overcome, achieve greatness, yeah, go another route.
That's beautiful. You have such a genuine soul.
Thank you.
And I could tell that the work that you do is real, and it's not for the gain of anything, but to tell the stories of the people that you're surrounded by so that people can have a better representation, a better idea of what it's like to be a human.
I agree.
Which is something that I truly respect.
Thank you.
With founding my brand, Everybody Somebody, our missions are totally aligned. Basically to get people to understand the value that they have and to get other people to understand the value that other people have. Our mission statement there is no matter what you do or who you are, your life has value. And not only do I think that people forget that about themselves, but we also forget that about our peers. And we need to remember that.
Yeah, I agree.
And that needs to be the front of our mind with every conversation that we have, with every interaction we have. This is a person of value. This is somebody's father, uncle, brother, cousin, sister, auntie, mother. This is somebody who means a whole lot to somebody else. So I ought to treat them with love, care, and respect.
I agree.
I always give people a chance to give the listeners something, a word of advice, a piece of encouragement, just something for them to hold on to at the end of each episode. And now's your chance.
Some good advice. Keep going. You know, everything that you're going through in your life right now is meant for you to go through. You're not supposed to be somewhere else. You're supposed to be where you at right now. It's going to help shape you to whatever purpose that God has on your life. And that is helping you get there right now. You can be struggling with depression. You could be homeless. You're in jail. You just lost somebody close to you. Everything is meant for a reason. And even though it looks bad, years down the line, if you allow it to help you grow and you allow God to step into your story, it's going to be like a great testimony. You know, everybody in this world has a story and everybody has a testimony. And I feel like every testimony is meant to help, you know, help other people that's watching your story. So keep going. You know, you're not going through it for no reason. It is a reason. And even though it looks down right now, keep going because joy can come in the morning, you know?
Yeah. Joy will come in the morning.
Yeah.
I think what I have in closing, I want people to remind themselves and remember that your yesterday does not define who you have to be tomorrow. And although you may have experienced extreme lows, and although you may have experienced extreme highs, be cautious on how you're treating yourself because tomorrow could be totally different. You don't want to be too hard on yourself because tomorrow could be better. And you don't want to be too loose on yourself because tomorrow could be worse. So be realistic. Stay true to yourself. Stay true and connected to God. Love people. Love the people around you. Love yourself. Give yourself grace. It's not the end.
No, it's not.
It is not the end.
No, keep going, though. The fruits that you will see after this, I like from your story, you're going to be like, dang, I'm so grateful that I kept going and I didn't give up. I'm a living proof, honestly.
For sure. I appreciate your time today.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Peace.